This is The Sims, a game so simple and admittedly a bit boring in concept, but so genius in execution. The idea of the game was originally conceived when Will Wright lost his home in the Oakland firestorm of 1991. This sparked his interest in how people prioritize their stuff, prompting the idea of a dollhouse simulator where you design a home and have virtual people test it out to see how well it works. Maxis didn't really like the idea at first, and it probably would have been shelved if it wasn't for EA giving the game a chance, which was a really good move. Seriously, who would have known at the time that this series would have been so popular over 2 decades later? Anyways, in development, Will Wright found that playing the people in these homes was more fun than actually building the home, so he made that the focus of the game. This makes it The Sims we know and love today. Over time, the series has changed a lot, and while right now it's basically become EA's cash cow that always seems to keep on giving despite being milked half to death, it hasn't always been that way. If you go all the way back to the very first installment in the series, you won't find a game that shoves advertisements about packs you haven't bought yet in your face, but instead a game with some serious soul. If you can somehow get The Sims 1 to run on your system, which is easier said than done, you'll see exactly what I mean. Every little aspect of it shows that they really wanted to make something fun and special. When you boot up the game, it throws you directly into the neighborhood screen. Here, you can select the family from the neighborhood or the family bin, or just make a new one. So let's start with a little look at Create a Sim, and wow, you can really see a major difference. With The Sims 4, we complain about it not being diverse enough with all this stuff, but back then all we had was a bunch of preset bodies and heads to choose from. That's it. If you wanted to make yourself, you basically just selected whichever head looked vaguely like you, and that's the best you're gonna get without mods. Anyways, you can make adults and children, and you have 3 skin tones to choose from, light, medium, and dark, and for some reason they all have different outfits? Okay then. After you're done choosing what they look like, you can choose their personality by assigning personality points to various traits such as neatness, outgoingness, and niceness. Then you write a little bio for them if you like, and then plop them into an unoccupied home or an empty lot if you want to try to make a home from scratch. Personally, I highly recommend building from scratch. It's way more fun and you get way more attached to a home that you personally designed yourself rather than one the devs made for you. Build mode is definitely more primitive than the build modes in later games, but it gets the job done. It can be a little hard to navigate, especially when choosing wallpapers and floorings, but it's generally a pretty painless process, and it's a bit relaxing too, especially with Jerry Martin's score, which is just perfect for the mood this game is going for. Of course, once you're done building, you move on to buy mode, where you fill your Sims homes with all sorts of fun stuff, ranging from necessities like a kitchen set and a bedroom to fun stuff like a basketball hoop, a fireworks launcher, and even a freaking skydiving simulator. Now, live mode is where you get to see how well your home works, but also where most of your time will be spent. After all, this is a life simulator, not just a housing simulator, even if it might have started out that way. But anyways, you basically do things you do in real life for the most part. Get a job, work on skills and relationships, get promoted, get some money, upgrade your house, and of course stay on top of your Sims' needs. Your Sims have 8 basic needs that they always need to keep on top of, or else they'll be miserable. Hunger, energy, comfort, fun, hygiene, social, bladder, and room. Doing things like eating to increase the hunger need or sleeping to increase the energy need will keep your Sims happy and productive, and it's actually a pretty satisfying loop. Of course, that's all when you start to get the hang of it. You see, The Sims 1 is a really hard game. Sims are really hard to please in this game, and if they aren't in a good mood, they'll refuse to do pretty much anything that doesn't satisfy their needs, and they'll complain. Constantly.
I'm sorry again!
The game gets easier as you get promoted and upgrade your furniture, but early game can be very rough because the cheap furniture does not do much for your needs and they drop super fast. It's like a juggling act, but honestly, that's what makes The Sims 1 so engaging. You're always constantly involved in making sure your Sims are happy and don't end up screwing everything up and pissing all over the floor or something. Not only that, but the game is always throwing obstacles in your path to success. Things like how occasionally at night, a burglar will show up and steal some of your items. Or you'll buy a genie lamp and the genie will infest your house with cockroaches, or the classic burning down the entire house from trying to make dinner. Which leads me into failure. Sims in The Sims 1 don't age, and because of that, they technically can live forever. But they probably won't. Sims seem to die left and right in this game, Like, fires in this game are notoriously dangerous. If you don't do anything about a fire, it can literally, I am not exaggerating, kill your entire family in a matter of a couple minutes. Your Sims can also starve to death, drown in a swimming pool if there's no ladder, which is another classic by the way, or they can even be electrocuted when trying to repair something like the TV. I know I said earlier this is what it means to fail, but that's technically not right, and that's the beauty of The Sims. It's a sandbox game, and so there really is no such thing. You make your own goals, and sometimes your Sims dying in an out-of-control fire is exactly what you want, and that's perfectly okay. There is no right or wrong way to play. If you're having fun, then you're doing it right. With this sort of freedom, you can do whatever you want and create your own personal story and experience with the game. You want your Sim to be successful and happy? Go right ahead. Want your Sim to slowly starve in a 1x1 box? Nothing's stopping you, man. Another cool thing about the game is the fictional language of Simlish. This gibberish language made it so that the devs didn't have to worry about making the Sims speak in numerous languages to account for different countries, but also so that you as the player can put your own meaning in what they're saying. This is helped by the fact that when Sims speak to each other, they'll also have a speech bubble above their head with a picture of what they're talking about. So you can imagine what your Sim is saying to someone just based on some picture in the context of them talking. This creates a sort of connection between you and your Sim. You might even end up imparting a bit of your personality onto them, and that helps you care a lot more about what your Sim does with their life. This small detail actually adds greater impact than if they actually went out their way to record pre-made voice lines, since it adds to your immersion, which for a game like The Sims is very important. It's also way less irritating to hear the same voice lines if you don't know what they're saying. Another thing The Sims 1 does very well is music and sound effects. The sound effects are all just so memorable and fit right in with the world of The Sims 1. I love the alarming sound of a burglar appearing. The joyful little tune when you raise your skills. The awkward little stinger when your Sim embarrasses themselves. All these little sounds just help give the game so much personality, and the music also adds to that and it's just iconic. Even if you've never heard of The Sims, I know you've heard Mallrat by now. The buy mode tracks sound like music you'd hear on some old school shopping show, and the build mode tracks are just so reflective. I guess that's a good way to describe it. That piano just has such a warm, nostalgic feeling to it. It makes it super relaxing while you're putting those windows up or drawing out some fences. It's great. Now this was the first game, so the scope was pretty limited. It was limited in the sense that there wasn't very much to do besides get money and buy more things. That's where expansion packs come in, which add more stuff to your game. There were 7 of them in total, and Live Enlarge was the first of these expansions, and it added, well, a bunch of stuff for your Sims' homes. It included a lot of now iconic items like the vibrating heart bed and the chemistry table, perfect for your little impromptu meth operation. It was also the first appearance of the Grim Reaper, which is a nice little touch on death. Better than how they used to die by just disappearing after a text box saying something like, well, your Sim is dead, rip, I guess. Following Live Enlarge was House Party, which allowed you to, well, host house parties. Title pretty much explains this one. They were pretty fun. You get this mime that no one likes that refuses to leave. You can set up a buffet, and if your party is really booming, you can even get Drew Carey to show up, so that's cool. There's also some things that The Sims would never add nowadays, like, these dancers that come out of this cake. Yeah. The game was really stretching that teen rating. Anyways, after House Party, Hot Date released, and this added community lots to the game. For the first time, your Sims could leave their homes and have a night out in the town. Restaurants and other activities were included, with of course the ability to actually go on a hot date, or a disastrous one if that's more your thing. It also came with the very first appearance of Miss Crumplebottom to get in the way of your dating ambitions. Having a grumpy old lady start slapping you with her bag on your date is always a good time. Vacations were added in the next pack. I'm gonna be real, I never really played with this one very much, but it was cool. It added the ability to go to Vacation Island, and there's snowboarding half pipes, so that's nice. Unleash then rolled around with the addition of animals. You got cats, dogs, birds, and even other little guys like skunks and raccoons. You could even find strays to befriend and adopt if you didn't want to go to the new Old Town to pick up one yourself. Then came the ability to become a celebrity and superstar. It also had quite a few real celebrities such as Avril Lavigne and Bon Jovi, which is very charming but also does a wonderful job at making it very apparent just how old this game is now. Well, anyways, after Superstar, I guess they wanted a bit of Harry Potter in the game since they decided the final pack for the game would be Makin' Magic. This pack is the most out there kind of expansion the game has to offer, and while nowadays occults are nothing new, back then it kinda came out of nowhere. Regardless, it's a good pack adding, well, magic, but also a cool, creepy carnival kind of place for your Sims to visit and practice their magic. This pack also has the best music that came with these expansions in my opinion. There's something about it that I just can't get enough of. It also came with the very first appearance of Bonehilda, so that's nice. I like that she scares away real maids. The series has evolved so much since its first iteration back in 2000, but the fact that the series is still going as strong as it is today shows just how impactful this first game was. It was one of the first sandbox-style games that allowed you to create your own story, and for a while it was the top-selling PC game of all time, with more than 6.3 million copies sold. That was insane for the time, especially for a game that Maxis didn't have any faith in. The tagline of the series Play with Life stems from the philosophy of this game. It's your own little world that you can play the way you want to. Getting a chance to mess around with The Sims 1 was actually so much fun. Yeah, it felt a little dated, and getting used to the fixed camera was a bit hard, but the game had a lot of good things going for it. Would I recommend playing it now? Not more than a few hours just to experience what the game was like, since you do run out of things fairly quickly, but what it brought to the table can be felt throughout the entirety of the series, and I appreciate seeing the roots and what made the series so special in the first place. If you like this, feel free to subscribe. It helps me out a lot, and I really do appreciate all the support I can get. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.